everyone. Welcome back to Rise Up with Janeena Chan. This is episode number 5, and I'm so excited for this particular topic because I think this is something that we all have been needing, or for me, for some, maybe they're avoiding it just because they're not exactly the type of person to. To tidy up. Ayan, alam nyo na guys. So today it's all about learning more of the KonMari method from Mari Kondo, popularized by her, especially if you've seen her series on Netflix or online, or if you've read her books. It's been a huge hit, not only locally, but globally as well. And it has, shown a lot of benefits for our lives, right? Not only like on a personal level, but also on a professional level. So we're here to learn more about it and see why it is super important and hopefully be motivated ourselves to channel our inner Mari Kondos. And with that, we have our very own Achi, bagong Achi na naman, our new guest, Achi or Miss Renelyn Tan-Castillejos. And we are so happy to have you here, Achi Renelyn. Thank you so much for taking the time. She is a certified KonMari consultant. And yeah, I'm so excited to hear from you and more of what you do and how important it is in our lives to tidy up and get organized, right? So, first of all, hello, welcome to the show. Hi.
Hello, Janeena. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm excited to share the KonMari method to all of your listeners.
So, yes, I'm really keen on this particular topic kasi let's just put a little personal context. Actually, mahilig akong mag-organize. So yeah, let's put that on the off for everyone to know na para lang, 'di ba? I mean, kasi yung iba naman maybe you're listening because you hate it, 'di ba? It could be for that reason, right? And just to give us all a better picture on what this whole world is, actually it's taken the world by storm. It's become like a niche world of its own. People have been loving it and for good reason too. So tell us the hype around it first of all and how you personally got into it and what it is all about.
So the KonMari method has actually been here for many years already. The first time I saw Mari Kondo's book was in 2014. So I was able to see her book in a local bookstore and na-attract ako dun sa name na The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. But at that particular time, I said, okay, I was still living with my parents and I told myself, this is a good book, but I didn't use it. But when it was already 2016, I got married and I realized that married life is a very big adjustment period, especially if you and your husband's very different. So I grew up in a home where there's a lot of extra items. My mom really shows her love by making sure that everything at home always has an extra item para anytime that me or my siblings would need something, meron kami nun. So I always thought that it was normal to have a home where there's always balikbayan boxes with so many items. And then I got married to a man who's very simple, who's a minimalist. So it was really a big adjustment period for us. And it's always funny, I tell my friends, hindi niya maintindihan bakit ang dami naming plates when there's only two of us at home and we don't even have visitors. So finally in 2018, I saw the book again in my bedroom and I guess it was already time for me. I said, why not give this a try? Maybe it will improve all of the items that I have at home that my husband is a little bit annoyed with already. And for 3 straight hours, I followed the KonMari method, the book, and it became a very emotional process. I was also surprised myself when I thought that I would just be removing the clutter in my bedroom. Na-realize ko that it also allowed me to remove a lot of the internal clutter that I didn't know I had within me. So in simplest terms, to anyone who's learning about the KonMari method the first time, it's a very specific way of organizing your home. But the simple thing to consider is what sparks joy for you. So what makes you happy? And if hindi siya nagpapasaya sa'yo, if it's not sparking joy, then we tell our clients to say thank you and discard it, because there's some items in our homes that already has served its purpose for us, and it's good to be always having items that are valuable to our present life.
I love what you said about Well, first of all, ang dami mo nang nakwento in that one answer, and I love it. Let's break it down. So first up, it's so interesting to me when you said that, that's the reality you faced as a child growing up, that
Yes.
was the only reality you ever knew, that your surroundings would have extra stuff or balikbayan boxes.
Yes.
But then when you see how other people are living, you're like, oh, okay. Right? Buti na lang, diba? May internet na ngayon. And then we also get a lot of inspiration online too. Or maybe, I mean, you've probably seen mga magazines din, diba? Mga home, pero you're probably like, pang magazine lang yan. Pero yun pala, other people can live an organized, minimalist life that's clutter-free, that has a lot of great benefits and effects for your own life too. And speaking of which, you were saying the whole spark joy thing. I think it's something that not everyone can relate. I mean, they don't necessarily associate it with things in
Yes.
terms of organizing or in terms of letting go of,
Mhm.
that there is an emotional attachment, or there are emotional energies that are aligned to the entire process. And maybe that's why, would you say that's also why a lot of people have been putting off organizing and tidying up? Or tamad lang ba talaga sila? Can you take us on that journey? You've done a lot of your consultation for your clients, so tell
Mhm.
us how that works in whole that that whole emotional landscape of things.
I love how you incorporated the emotional aspect of how a particular item can really affect you. And whenever I share about the tidying up method, natatakot yung mga tao kasi akala nila papatapon ko lahat ng gamit nila. But I tell them that the KonMari process is really something that's up to you. And so, if, for example, you're in your home and you look around you and then you see, okay, I am surrounded with a lot of items, but why is it that I still feel as if there's something missing, or I still need to buy this or that, or I'm still not as happy as I can be? Then maybe sometimes the emotion that you have in a particular item is already something that you don't need anymore in the home. So, for example, especially now that we have the pandemic period, and for most of us, this is the longest time that we've stayed in our homes. And I also noticed that for some, they adapt to the things inside their home. So ano ibig sabihin yan? If for example, you have a big home, but you're not able to enjoy it because there's no more space, you fill it with a lot of items. So most often you will be affected with it whether you know it or not. So whenever we ask about what sparks joy for you, it doesn't just mean that you make yourself happy or you smile when you see this item. But actually, you ask yourself, if you look around your house right now, and if you look around what are the items there, do you think that each and everything contributes to you becoming a better version of yourself? And so that spark joy question, even if it seems very simple, it actually asks you, what is it that you value in your life, what is it that you want to do, and where do you want to have your dreams come true, or when do you want to see it happening in the next few maybe months or years. And so everything that you have in your home hopefully is able to surround yourself with that kind of value. And just also to add that there's a really big difference between tidying up and cleaning. So for some people, inisip nila kasi pareho yun. But with cleaning, it's something we need to do every day para we're hygienic, we're safe, we're sanitized. But tidying up, it's something different because this is where you ask yourself, okay, at this stage in my life, ano ba yung gusto ko? Ano ba yung nagpapasaya sa akin? And kung ito yung mga bagay na yon, then are the things that I currently have allowing me to experience that kind of spark joy life?
Okay, nice. Okay, so would you also say, with that said, would you say that our belongings are kind of like a representation, diba? They represent ourselves, and they shouldn't be any more than that? Or paano ba yun? Like, how do you tie that in with the functionality of things and the aesthetics of things? How does that come into play naman?
in your question, I like how you mentioned that our things are also a representation of our feelings and a representation maybe of where we are right now in our lives, which is why it's very important that you ask yourself how much of a particular item do you need. Because sometimes, if ang dami-dami natin gamit, hindi natin na-realize how valuable something is. So, for example, if you look in your closet and you have so many beautiful clothes, but you're not able to use everything, or you're not able to enjoy it just because there's just too many, you're not able to see it anymore. So, in some ways, it defeats the purpose of making
Mm.
you look better, of making you have a good feeling every time you use your clothes. And so you ask yourselves, parang what is most important to you? Are the items the most important, or is the space that you have in your home more important so that you're able to build relationships, you're spending time with the people you love? Because sometimes I've noticed with my clients, like for example, if they have homes that don't feel like homes at all, maybe their kids or their sisters or whoever they're living in the home with, they don't get to spend a homey time together, or they don't spend quality time together because the home doesn't look like a home. Sometimes it looks like a storage room, or sometimes it looks like maybe what do you call this? A page straight out of a lifestyle home section area. So we always say that when it's your home, it's a place that makes you inspired, makes you happy, makes you relaxed. So KonMari can be
Mm.
one way of doing that. And there's no one specific rule that you follow. It's dependent on how you like the style. Some people they like labels, some people they like boxes. For some people they don't like to see any stickers at all. But the most important is if you know what is sparking joy for you, then hopefully you're able to see everything and use it as well.
Okay, so I guess picking up from everything you mentioned, it's more of maximizing the functionalities of things also, and that it has to serve you and not the other way around. Like, not the other way around na, oh, sige, tago kita dito.
Yes, to
Hindi
serve
kita
you,
gagamitin.
serve you
Dito
in
ka
the
lang.
present. Kasi some people,
Okay.
the reason why I see some people they have so many things is they either live in the past or live in the future. What do I mean by that? If, for example, you live in the past, you have a lot of clothes because you remember that maybe 5 years ago, all of these clothes fit you and you felt really good. And pwede naman mo siyang itago. But if it becomes so many that you're only able to use one third of your closet, then that's not having a closet that works for you in the present. Yung ibang tao naman, if they live in the future, they think, oh, I will still use this. I will still be able to gift this to a friend in the future. But then you don't remember when that actual thing happened. So you're not able to experience the present and you're not able to
Mm,
enjoy that. So KonMari
okay.
is able to let you do that, like live in the
Okay.
present.
Wow, I love that. Grabe na, guys. We're able to relate everything to like life itself. And I think there is nothing wrong, as you mentioned, with keeping things like mementos and things that make you
Yeah.
feel good, that, have parang a certain nostalgic feeling to, or maybe, nothing wrong with saving up for like a future, I don't know, maybe if you have lots of prom dresses there na parang gusto mong suotin na, diba, in the future or something, or maybe if, diba ngayon at pandemic na, and then umay na umay ka na, pero gusto mong rumampa in the future, tapos ang dami mong binili na gowns. Diba? I mean, there's no harm in that as long as you don't do it excessively, I guess, no? Just don't do
Yeah.
it excessively, and as long as you still find parang the purpose in the now and how everything works together in the now,
Yes,
correct?
definitely.
Then,
Think of your space. And if you have that space, then that's what you work around with. The
okay.
problem is sometimes if you know you have very limited space, still keep on adding to it, you won't be able to enjoy everything that you own because you don't get to see it.
Okay, so with KonMari, it's like always less is more, correct?
Actually, that I think is something that depends on the person. Because for some people, when they hear
Mm.
KonMari, they automatically equate it to minimalism. But
Mm.
minimalism can be an effect, can be an output of the process. But if, for example, you are a book lover and you realize that books really make you happy, so your goal is not to have just 3 or 5 books. Your goal is to figure out which among your books in your collection is still something that inspires you, it still makes you productive, it's still something that allows you to learn. And if that's 20, 30, 40 books, as long as you have the space and you're able to use it, then that's okay. The question you have to ask is what sparks joy, or what makes you happy, and what helps you.
I love. I guess that's how you can, di ba may quote na nagsasabi, parang what makes a house a home? And
Right.
like what makes a house a home for me is the feeling, right? The feeling of, belonging, the feeling of being able to relax,
Mm-hmm.
to be yourself, and
Yes.
just to, alam mo yun, to be in tune with your being human, and 'di ba, time
I
to
love it.
grow, time to cry, time to emote, lahat na yung tipong, you're able to be vulnerable in that space and enjoy and be happy at the same time. And I think for a house to be a home, you need to be surrounded by things that, na nga, as you say, it might sound really fluffy, but now I can see where it is going now. Yun na nga, parang
Right.
keep things with a soul, kumbaga, di ba? Kung feeling mo wala ng soul yung gamit na yan, parang for example, I love this vase from my friend watching via YouTube. Parang,
Nice.
yeah, it's serving its purpose of making me happy aesthetically, diba?
Yes.
Stuff like that. So I think yes, I really understand the the effects, but maybe on a more technical level naman, for those who still can't get a grasp of it, or for them parang wala lang yan,
Mhm.
'di ba? For others, they would discredit it na parang totoo ba
Yes.
yan, 'di ba? Spark joy ba yan? Parang 'di ba? Parang how do you counter that with the knowledge that you're able to learn from being a licensed or 'di ba certified consultant nga, parang ano ba talaga, syempre may mga research yan, 'di ba? So maybe
Yes.
you can back it up with that naman. Tell us more about exactly the benefits
Mm-hmm.
and its long-term effects, short-term effects, lahat na. Share to us why
Sure.
we have to like do the KonMari method rather than not.
So I guess there's just two simple requirements if you want to figure out if KonMari is for you. Number one is if you have a home right now. If it's a small apartment, if it's a big mansion, it really doesn't matter what size it is. What's important is you have your own space. And second is if you want to be happier. So, what are some of the steps that you need to take care of? Number one is remember that this is a commitment, because physically tidying up can be tiring. So, I would recommend before you do your tidying up schedule, you get a good night's sleep and you ask yourself, what deadline do you want to have? So, for some people, if they're working and they need to combine that with their tidying up, for some, it might take them a few months, maybe 3 to 6 months. But if you have full time that's available, then maybe you can do it in 2 to 3 weeks. So the first thing is number one is the commitment shown by the deadline. And the second is remember that you have to finish discarding your home first, discarding the items in your home first. So in the past, I would always buy storage boxes first. And I realized that it was counterproductive. Kasi minsan, inisip ko parang, I need to buy these new boxes. Only to find out that pagdatapos ko ng ma-declutter, mas marami na pala akong empty spaces. So remember, when discarding, we think of our effect in the environment. So try to see, don't just throw it away. Try to see how you can either donate it, sell it online, or give it to someone who actually wants it. And what's unique about the KonMari method is that it allows you to tidy up not by location, but by categories. So I don't know, Janina, how would you tidy up your home? Is it according to location, meaning bedroom first, then your bathroom, then your kitchen, or is it according to different categories?
Oh my gosh, I got put on the spot.
So if
Hmm.
ever you do the bedroom first and the bathroom, that's
Yeah.
tidying up by location. And that's not the KonMari way of doing it. In KonMari, Marie Kondo has actually divided all of the items in our homes into 5 simple categories. And that's
Okay.
your clothes, books, papers, kimono or miscellaneous items, and the fifth one is your sentimental items. So you may wonder, why is it arranged in such a way? It's because it's from the easiest to the most difficult. And so it doesn't
Mm.
matter if you have lesser books or lesser papers, you still follow that same order. And once you follow that, you realize na kapag mas natapos mo na yung clothes and then books and then papers, you more or less will be very good in figuring out what makes you happy, what sparks joy for you, so that when you reach the harder categories of miscellaneous items and sentimental items, then it's easier for you to let go. And remember, you have to say thank you to the item, pwedeng out loud, pwede rin naman quietly, because once upon a time, it all made you happy. So you can say thank you. And hopefully, you also don't have or don't feel any guilt when you give away an item that was given to you by someone important. Kasi nga,
Aw.
you can always build a relationship with that person, but if that item is not working for your life anymore at this time, then it's okay to let go.
Okay. Wow, that's really great. Okay, so how about naman how often we should do this?
So the good thing about
How yeah.
KonMari is because you now know where every single item goes, then the tidying up process can be very quick. And so you'll notice that for some people it takes they just need maybe to tidy up every quarter, or for others twice a year, because now you don't find yourself in a situation where there's a lot of clutter. Kasi nga, lahat ng bagay in your home has a parking space. And that's very, very important. The time I think that clutter slowly starts is when things don't have its permanent spot in your home. And you'll also notice that because you've already finished tidying up the KonMari way, if before it takes you one day, half day to tidy up, now it'll just take you a few minutes, maybe 15
Hmm.
minutes. And so that's very practical and helpful.
Nice. It's kind of like a clay go situation also,
Yes.
no? Clean as you go. I think
Mhm.
that's why they've been like in schools, they always posted sa mga poste, diba? Clay
Mhm.
go, maglinis
Yes.
kayo. I guess just to parang as early as that age to kind of like kind of plant that seed in our heads that we should always be tidy because nga naman parang it makes it less overwhelming in the end
Mhm.
also. I think I can relate to that a lot. And then I think one of the questions also that we have here that we want to address is now with the new normal, that now that everyone's staying home more, it's a little more challenging for
Mhm.
others, especially that how do they separate the workspace from the home space, especially if they don't necessarily have like a separate room for work. Maybe any tips on that and how we can organize yeah, things
And
for work
what
life balance.
yes, definitely important, especially now if you're working from home and also relaxing at home. What I can recommend is make sure you have a designated space for working and for just staying at home. So don't mix the personal items with your professional items. And it doesn't need to have you don't need to have a big space. What's important is, for example, if you will be working in the morning, then you also let the other people know at home that you're working so they don't disturb you, or they know that they will respect that specific time. Kasi syempre in the past, if sanay sila na, okay, pag nasa bahay ka, pwede kang kausapin anytime, pwede kang guluhin. But now,
Mhm.
if you're working, you also have that designated spot, not just for other people, but I guess also for yourself. Because what I've observed with a lot of my clients at the beginning was they became very exhausted because they felt that they had to work even after the office hours. So parang wala silang, they didn't know
Me
what
too.
was break time already.
Same.
So my recommendation they found very helpful that when it's work time, just set it and tell the people at home, and make sure that in your workspace, wherever you choose that, you don't use that as well as your personal space. Para hindi ka rin nalilito na okay, maybe now I don't have work, I can relax, I can just be at home and get some rest. So hopefully
Mhm.
that's helpful. Designated space, and inform the people in your home when it's work hours for you.
Yeah, okay. I guess this is a good reminder. Although medyo ano na siya, hindi na siya organizing like super organizing in terms of that seat. Pero related siya kasi,
Mhm.
'di ba? The space and the time.
Yes.
I think that's very important. I mean, we're already talking about it. So if you feel overwhelmed also with all that, like office hours and like knowing that everyone's online, I think it's fine. People will respect naman
Yes,
then
yes.
your
And
time.
actually,
And
Marie
yeah.
Kondo's newest book is called Joy at Work. So
Mm.
she was also emphasizing that even in the offices, it's very important that you designate that space for your particular activity.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so guys, or if you're guilty with that, ako sometimes I'm guilty then kasi minsan I would reply late minsan or pag because na nga, like work from home, I'm always here in my room. I'm a full-time host and content creator. And
Yeah.
buti na lang in the new normal, 'di ba? Meron pa ring work. So I'm really grateful for that. But yeah, once the day starts, put on your makeup, clothes, do your work, shoot, and then edit,
Mhm.
and then reply to people. Sometimes sa sobrang haba ng shoot hours, late na ako nakaka-reply. So, yun, minsan parang yung replies ko super late. Pero I think, I won't take it against them na okay lang.
Mhm.
I would understand that they would reply in the morning na lang. Pero at least nagawa ko na siya. Pero yun na nga, diba? Alam mo yun, kasi sometimes, kaysa naman never ko nagawin. Pero I guess we should all have like, oh my gosh, mag-usap-usap nga tayo, guys. Kailan ba tayo? No, but we're all in the same boat, and kapit lang. But I guess it's a good reminder to respect everyone's time and space, and then when people don't get to reply agad, parang you know understand na lang then maybe it's also confusing for them and for each other. So as long as we get to communicate with each other, that's good, and we are able to work productively. How about naman in terms of, so would you say that having a this can directly be related to the aesthetics nga, no? So would you say ambiance plays a huge part in productivity?
Definitely. And when you say ambiance, there's no specific rule that you should follow. I guess what's most important to answer is what is your own personal preference. Because for
Mm.
some people, if they look at the space and then isipin nila parang, I want this to look like the Instagram peg that I saw. But if it
Mhm.
doesn't match your personality, if it doesn't match your routine or your lifestyle, then hindi mo rin siya ma-maintain. So when you think of KonMari, of course, you discard at the beginning. And when it's time for storing the items, which comes last, try to ask yourself, what is your personal style? If mahilig ka sa mga acrylics, or if you like natural products like bamboo or rattan, or if you like everything hidden, or do you want your items to be exposed? So whatever that is, then make sure that you also set perhaps your vision board for your home, so you can be relaxed, you can actually make it work beautifully according to your preference, but more importantly, you can also maintain it. Because sometimes if it looks like it's straight out the magazine but you're not able to maintain it, then chances are that tidying up process will take longer than
Mm.
usual. So make
Or
sure that
yeah.
your style and your organization is reflective of what you like as well.
Okay, that's true. Gusto ko yung sinabi mong about like everything hidden. Pero that's actually yung pala pati yung kalat hidden, no? Hindi na nagligpit. Pero diba sometimes like, oh, ayan na yung bisita, tago mo lahat ng kalat. Yung akala mo ang linis ng lahat, pero nasa kabilang kwarto lahat ng kalat. Diba?
Actually,
Oh, that's
yun
so
yung
sad.
test. Well, yun yung ultimate test. So when you open your closets and you know that, okay, then I can see everything. Even if there's no one looking but myself, I'm okay because I know I'm not hiding anything. And I'd like to just maybe remind our listeners that it's very similar to what's happening in your physical surroundings can be similar to what you're experiencing deep inside you. And so if there's a lot of internal clutter going on in your life, if there's so much stress that you're experiencing, chances are makikita yan sa mga gamit mo. Which is why I
Mm.
love how the KonMari method makes me or reminds me that, oops, wait lang, parang dumadami yata yung kalat ko in this particular space. Then I take that as a reminder for me that maybe I need to declutter my schedule for this week. Maybe I'm taking on too much that I can't handle. And so it's a good balance and a good reminder for me. So remember, if you have a lot of clutter, try to ask yourself, take a step back. Are you taking on something too much? And do you need to just fix it a little bit and declutter your internal condition as well?
Wow, gusto ko yan. Parang ano, 'di ba? Parang tell me who your friends are and I'll tell you who you are. Tell me, makalat ka bang tao? Ginudge na pala, no? No, guys, joke lang. Ah. We're all like one community here and we are here
Yeah.
for you. And this is exactly why we invited you, 'di ba? To learn and to grow. And, it is such a great reminder. So, guys, tingin-tingin tayo sa paligid natin.
And
Oh,
siguro
may kalat ba dyan?
I also want to remind our listeners that you don't feel the pressure because every person has their own time.
Mm-mm.
And I think no one wants to have a cluttered home. But sometimes hindi mo na alam ano nangyayari, hindi mo na alam, ito na pala yun, ang kalat na pala. So when you finally tell yourself, okay, maybe now it's time for me to give myself a gift before the holiday starts. I want to marry my home. So set that time. If you want maybe 2 hours a day, 3 times a week, then commit to that and know that if you commit to yourself consistently, makikita mo talaga yung effect of the KonMari method. So don't compare yourself to others. Just compare yourself to your
Your
earlier
own
self
growth.
or your own growth. But also remember, if you wait too long, then you're not going to enjoy a Spark Joy home. So
Yun na nga.
ikaw rin yung
Mm-mm.
talo.
Oo, tama. So, just don't put it off na, guys.
Yes.
'Di ba?
Yes.
And just know that it will all be worth it. And just for it to not be overwhelming, maybe certain tips for that na parang just to start because sometimes the hardest part is how to start, right?
Yes.
How do you address that with your clients?
So start with your closet. Start with your clothes. Because even if you have a lot of clothes, most of the time it's easier to discard everything na nagamit mo na or hindi na siya in season. And
Mm.
so when you tackle your clothes, make sure that you remove all of the items and maybe put it on your bed or table where you
Mhm.
can see everything. Kasi ang nagiging problem with decluttering sometimes is if you don't see all of your things from the same categories, minsan pwede mong ma-discard yung mas bago aside from the older
Mm.
one. And
Mm.
so if you have so many clothes, then you can divide it into subcategories. So if you only have 2 hours, you can tackle just your clothes in the shirts or pants category, and then another subcategory, maybe your swimwear, your bags, your
Mm.
shoes, you can tackle it the next day. So you don't have to be overwhelmed. If there's a lot, divide it into subcategories according to the number of hours you have.
Okay, great. Maybe you could even do it like a 30-day challenge, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
at least
sure.
mas practical also. Because sometimes when we watch these mga makeover shows, like the Mari Kondo show, diba? Parang syempre, it's a show. They have to make it really like transformational and dramatic. But not everyone has the time for that, right? To make like a Hallmark special or a Netflix special episode of their lives. Kasi minsan, diba, yun ang iniisip natin, kaya natin dine-delay. Parang, oh my gosh, wala akong time for a dramatic transformation. Pero guys,
True.
I love what you said about that subcategorizing and also managing your time also, 'di ba? Parang make sure it's practical pa rin for your life.
Mhm.
Baka naman di ka na makatrabaho dahil lang
Yeah.
nagmamaricon ka. So again, just a lot 2 hours like for a specific weekend just to tackle the shirts, maybe next weekend jeans naman, and then next weekend ito naman beauty products, and then next weekend items for the kids or for your pets or for miscellaneous items, for memorabilia items. Ako, dun ako tumatagal sa memorabilia items kasi may throwback moment
Marami.
kapag ganun ka pa. May may, ay, do you remember this day? Di ba may mga ganun? Kaya
Yeah.
tayo tumatagal eh. But that's also why it's fun. So I think,
Mhm.
would you say do it also with family and for those who
Oh,
can really help you?
great question. Because some people they ask me, they call me, they would say, Ren, can you marry my husband's items? And I tell them I can only do that if your husband gives permission. Because most of the
Mm.
time, it's easier to look at other people's clutter than ours. So I've
Mm-mm.
seen how in some families, if hindi nila na-understand, minsan inisip nila, oh, why are you attacking my things? Why don't you take care of your own things? And so if you want to do it with family, that's great if they're ready. But chances are, if they're not, then start with your own things. And also remember that when it's already their time to tidy up, it will happen. Kapag hindi pa
Naks.
talaga,
Dasal na lang ganun ba
just
yun? Dasal
let
na
it
lang muna.
go. Oo, and
Pagdasal niyo muna, guys.
oh, you start with the categories. Just maybe for our
Okay.
listeners, remember it's clothes, books,
Clothes.
slippers, miscellaneous items, and lastly sentimental items. And
I have a question on
yes.
that note though, because I do have a lot of memorabilia. Growing up as a kid, I was so active. Ang dami kong mga kung ano nung ginagawa ko, para mga from school plays
Mhm.
to mga personal stuff like mga slambok.
Right, right. I
Promise
love
parang
it.
hindi ko matapon-tapon. Pero actually sa lagay na yon, ang dami ko nang natapon. But I've kind of like collected maybe like a paper bag, like
Mhm.
elementary. Ay, hindi ba? My mom's like, sabi niya, no, boxes kaya? Sabi niya sa akin, fine, okay, fine. Boxes. Or yung mga, alam mo na, parang mga first few mga dates, mga gano'n. Tapos
Mhm.
tinatago ko yung mga little mementos, mga gano'n. Or even mga pictures. Kasi noon, hindi pa naman tayo digital age
Yes.
noon. Ang dami pa nating hard copy. My gosh. Ang dami kong photo album. Anong gagawin ko doon? Mga stuff like that. Like, where do I keep them? And like, do I actually have to minimize it even more?
Siguro ask yourself three very simple questions. The first one
Mm.
is, when was the last time you used it or looked at it? Number two, how often do you see yourself using it still in the future? And number three, what is the current condition of that particular item? So, if you
Okay.
ask yourself those three very simple questions, I think lalabas din doon alin talaga yung ginagamit mo, alin yung hindi, alin ba yung parang maybe you're just keeping it for sentimental reasons. And don't get me wrong, you can definitely still keep sentimental items, but the thing about sentimental items is they're very special to you. Hopefully, if they are, you're still able to use it or you're still able to enjoy it or look at it. Kasi parang nawawala yung value niya if it's very sentimental to you but you don't see it. Or minsan ang galing natin magtago, nasisira na siya sa taguan and you also
Mm-mm.
don't want that to happen. So if
Okay.
it's very difficult, ask yourself those three questions and you'll see, okay, parang kahit itago mo 'to hindi ko na din talaga 'to magagamit or
Mm. Or
if
hindi na siya nakakatuwa.
oo,
Parang
'di
'pag
ba?
binalikan mo, "Natutuwa pa ba ako?" Hindi ka na
Yes,
nakakatuwa. In Tagalog 'no, spark joy,
yes.
"Nakakatuwa ka pa ba?" Hindi na ako
I
natutuwa,
love it.
thank you.
Oo,
Thank you, next.
oo,
Yun yung
'di ba?
title ng podcast natin,
Thank you,
"Nakakatuwa."
next. But that's true. I mean, I know it's not easy, especially if these are items that you really accumulated with your hard work, with so much good memories.
Mm.
The question is, but right now, where are you in your stage of life? So is it maybe something you'd like to pass on to family or to friends or to your future kids? Or is it really something you're just holding on to, knowing na hindi mo na rin talaga siya gagamitin? And
Okay,
so
gets.
maybe what can help you is if you look at the possibilities of, okay, now that I have more space, then when the time comes that there's something new or a new memory or a new item, then I can have space for that. Kasi 'di
Mhm.
ba, parang
Okay, understood.
if you have space for something, mas maraming papasok pag
Wow, gusto
may
ko
clear na
yun.
siya.
Wow, I love it. Meron na siyang parking space. Like you mentioned, di ba?
Exactly.
Every item in your home needs to have a parking space. So I guess just don't make it the habit to take in or keep too much memorabilia na lang that doesn't serve you anymore. Basically, ask yourself, may kwenta pa ba to? Di ba?
Yes.
Di ba? May kwenta pa ba to sa buhay ko? Parang do I even like
Yes.
every week ko ba babalikan yung memorabilia na yun tapos matutuwa ako. 'Di ba? Parang we don't even have time for that, 'di ba? So, I guess it still is up to the person
Mhm.
whether or not they're willing to have that space and if it is um of value pa for them. So again, it's a case to case basis, right? And
Yes,
just
I'm
take it one
excited
step.
to see your
Right?
sentimental items,
Oo nga.
Janine.
Naku, sobrang dami. Ang daming kalokohan. Kalokohan talaga. Hindi, pero yung iba talagang laugh trip kasi. Kaya parang I don't wanna throw also. Pero yung ibang, kunyari, yung mga textbooks na parang, kunyari, I had a study tour in
Mhm.
France and then we
Yes.
learned the language. Eh ngayon, come on. hindi ko na alam. Like, I have to even watch a YouTube tutorial na to remember.
Yes, yes,
Yung mga
yes.
ganun, mga textbooks. Siguro I would keep the scrapbooks, like the ones that we had to do with our pictures and
Mhm.
faces. But for the others na parang you can search it up naman online, 'di ba? How to pronounce this word and how to pronounce that word, 'di ba? So parang maybe I'll just donate those textbooks naman. Yeah. So yeah, super learned so much. So grabe na pahaba yung chika natin, but I had so much fun at
Thank
Renelyn.
you.
What's your nickname?
Ren.
Achi Ren. Oh, close na tayo.
Of course.
I love it. Okay, so we can follow you on your page. It's Yorokobi, correct?
Yeah, so if they
World.
want some
Mhm.
tidying tips, I hope they can follow me on Instagram. It's at World of Yorokobi. So that's
Mm-mm.
YOROKOBI. And to those who are wondering what's Yorokobi, it's a Japanese word that means joy.
Oh, I love it. Thank you so much. Well, I had so much fun. Definitely sparked joy, lots of joy within me, this conversation. And, other than that, it just makes more sense now that, coming from an expert and a certified consultant of the benefits of tidying up and just decluttering your space. And that, don't think of it as a task or a chore, but more of something you will enjoy and that will at the end of the day serve your life better, diba? Because that's all we want to do anyway, live our best lives to the fullest. And sometimes with that we really have to consider where we live muna, diba? Our immediate environment and space and surroundings, whether it be work or home or both. Just make sure that you're happy in it and that they still serve its purpose for your now. So thank you so much for that,
Thank
Achiren.
you.
I had so much fun. And yeah, that's
Me
it
too.
for this episode. I hope you guys learned a lot too. I definitely did. And if you enjoyed this, please do give it a good review if you're listening via Apple Podcasts. And yeah, if it's on Spotify or YouTube, go ahead, follow us, subscribe to the Prep page. 3 pa lang, gano'n, nagjo-join na ako ng mga yan with full-on costume. I'm so grateful to have a momager ever since. My mom who's been supporting me all these years. So yeah,